You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Well, it was a pretty massive recruiting weekend for LSU. Bryce Underwood on campus on Friday. You land 3 commitments, including your first 2 for the class of 2026. Vibes were immaculate this weekend around Baton Rouge. And then Sunday night, the dud, which is where we will begin, because not necessarily just to begin with the negative, but it's the most recent and it's the most consequential. So that's where we will start. 4-star cornerback out of Westgate and New Iberia, Jabori Antoine, who was the highest ranked defensive commitment for LSU's 2025 class. Note I said was. He decommitted from LSU on Sunday night. Hayes Fawcett had the news breaking about Antoine's decommitment. Miami, Florida State are schools that he has recently visited. He says Miami, Florida State, and LSU still are the schools he's focused on moving forward. And there is still somewhat of a feeling that Antoine could end up as part of this LSU class. I want to say, before I even start, I know there's going to be this component of why even take a commitment? Nobody's word means anything anymore. Okay. You can feel that way if you do, but I think if you feel that way, that's a two-way street, because you flip guys who are committed to other places. So you're the beneficiary of that sometimes, and you're also on the short end of that straw at times as well. It's just how this game is played. And quite honestly, it's how it has to be played, especially now in the portal era. Remember, we talked about this a lot when Decorian Moore decommitted, and LSU's continuing to recruit him. And by the way, I still think there's a really good chance, as I understand, that Jabori Antoine ends up at LSU. And I got much more on that in a second. But just big picture first. I think Shea Dixon said this, and he's right. It's never been more important to finish second in recruiting than it is in this era. Because a guy goes to a school, let's say he doesn't like it, he enters the portal. Well, if you had a great relationship and you recruited him throughout, there's a chance you get him on the backside. Maybe not, but it's why you continue to recruit guys. Also, yes, whenever recruits can decommit, so too can coaches purge players out of their class. I mean, I'll remind you, LSU had 2 cornerbacks committed last year in Andre Evans and Kai Bates. They got purged out of LSU's class, and they ended up signing P.J. Woodland and Bernard Causey instead. So it happens both ways. So you can roll your eyes and hate it, and I get it, but it's part of this. It's not going to change, so we just kind of have to accept it and roll on. So a few things here. First of all, it is a long way to go until December of 2024, right? Part of the 25 signing class, but the December of 24 would be the early signing period. We had a long way to go until December. So a long way to go still for Jabori Antoine and a lot of these guys to get pen to paper and then get them on campus. So you absolutely still are in play for Jabori Antoine, but there is also no doubt that this sucks. It sucks. He's a 4-star. He's the number 63 cornerback in America in the On3 industry rating. He's the number 63 overall player. 63 overall player, the number 6 cornerback, and he's the second best player in Louisiana behind Harlem Berry for the 2025 class. So this is a major, major player at arguably your greatest position of need, the position group that you have seen erode that you're trying to build back. And the other part of it as well, I mean, look, a year ago, you were 118th in the country in pass defense. Like, we all know it. I mean, I'm just spelling out what you already know. The pass defense was atrocious. And to this point, 2 years under Brian Kelly, your cornerback room has been made up of transfers and 3-stars. That's the fact of the matter. And you bring Corey Raymond back because Corey Raymond is the godfather of DBU. He's the guy that built DBU. He's the guy. I understand there were plenty of legacy players before Corey Raymond, but he's the one that took it to a different level and sustained it for a decade, okay? I'm not trying to get into that argument. But Corey Raymond also is from New Iberia. He played at LSU and is from New Iberia. Here's Jabori Antoine from Westgate in New Iberia, who was committed, now is decommitted. That stings. There's a lot of other factors, ancillary factors associated with this that make it suck even more. And listen, DBU was built on players from Louisiana. I understand Patrick Peterson came from Florida and Jamal Adams came from Texas. I get it. They're great players. A huge part of what LSU is and has been. But when you look at the DBU era, Derek Stingley went to Dunham. Christian Fulton went to Rummel. Tyrann Mathieu went to St. Aug. Morris Claiborne and Trey White, both from Shreveport, Fair Park and Green Oaks, respectively. Harold Simon was from Eunice. Dante Jackson was from Riverdale. Like, you built DBU on guys from this state. So I loved last year the two guys I just mentioned, Kai Bates and Andre Evans. I mean, you never want to see, it's the ugly part of recruiting, but it happens. But they replaced those guys with P.J. Woodland and Bernard Causey. Now, Woodland's from Mississippi, the Hattiesburg area, and Causey's from New Orleans. Tell me there's a guy from JFK in New Orleans who Corey Raymond says, I think that guy can play. All right, I'll take him over the cat from a private school in Orlando. I will. I trust the guy's eye for what he's looking for. But you got to be able to get the best players in the state at that position to stay home, to continue rebuilding that room. So losing Jabori Antoine for all of those reasons is a big deal. Now, he can still end up part of this class. Florida State and Miami are the other two schools. They have deep NIL pockets. He recently took that visit to Florida State. We'll see what it'll take to get Jabori Antoine back in tow. But if this kid from Louisiana, from Westgate, being recruited by Corey Raymond, in-state school, had been committed, for whatever reason caused him to look around, you would hope between now and signing day, LSU has the resources to get him back as part of this class. And look, when you look to 2025, there's a lot of work to do in that cornerback room. You're going to lose Zy Alexander, but other than that, you're going to get everybody still has eligibility. But it's J.K. Johnson, who'll be in a fifth year. Jair Brown will be in his fourth year. Toviano and Stamps in 2025 would be in their third year. And then these freshmen, Woodland, Causey, Foster, Turner, would all be going into year two. And then whoever you sign in this class. But the bottom line is, I don't think any name I mentioned jumps off the page to say that's an elite level talent right there. So one of two things has to happen, or both. The guys I just mentioned either have to improve dramatically, or you have to drastically increase the level of talent, the influx of talent into this program at that position. This certainly doesn't help. A top 100 overall top 100 overall player, number 6 cornerback, Jabori Antoine, decommits from LSU after what was otherwise a fantastic recruiting weekend for the Tigers. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.